What's up, party people, and welcome back to another episode of Dance Specific Talk. Ba, 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 ba. I am Teaser, your host, and today I'm hosting alone because Sebastian is out on doing some adventures in Cape Verde. So I am so honored and so blessed to have a guest today, and we are talking with no one else than Rotterdam's finest. Sachi Rihal! Ba, ba, ba,
Oh
ba, 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 ba,
my
ba.
gosh, what an introduction. Thank you so much. It's quite exciting to be here. A bit nervous, not
Well,
gonna lie.
amen, amen. This is funny because for the people who don't know, Sachi and I have known each other for about maybe 6 years now,
Yeah.
since I moved to the Netherlands. And since then, have we not only danced a hell of a lot together, we traveled together, we have we have done workshops together
Oh
and
yes.
we have performed together.
Yes. We
We
even
have created
hosted podcast episodes together.
we exactly we had the Corso's Sounds
Sounds
from the
from the
Scythe
cipher. Yeah.
podcast. And yeah, just in general, we share a lot actually in common when it comes to styles and so on. So I'm just super excited to have you on this podcast. For me personally, I feel like you represent the word resilience in so many aspects, and we're gonna get into that. But first, for the people who don't know you, we're gonna start with like an open question. What is one thing that you learned the hard way, Sachi?
Oh wow. Boundaries. Boundaries is been a word that kept coming back, especially when it comes to managing my own battery and understanding my own boundaries, where my capacities are, because my passion and will, but I'm also so driven to achieve a certain goal that you have in mind that I forget that my battery is not equal to what I want always. So the hardest way I had to learn that is by going through a burnout, a very sincere one, and also still helping me to understand what all of that means, and to understand to give yourself grace and love for that as well. That it's okay that sometimes you dream bigger and your body says, "But I need to do this now. I need to rest." Give that love to you as well. So the hardest way is all of that, but with love as well.
And I feel like you're not the first dance artist that I interview around burnout. And I do believe that the most passionate dancers sometimes are the ones that are like most likely to burn out. So we're gonna get into that a little bit more. But you have also been dipping your toes and moved your way across several different dance styles. Why
Correct.
don't you summarize for us kind of the key elements that have built you to the dancer you are today? Maybe like which style you started with, something that made you develop and grow, and kind of where you are today. If you could take us through that journey.
Yes. So the little teenage years of my journey in dance started with jazz, street dance, became like it was like a fusion of jazz, but also what they called street dance at that moment. And my teacher already saw you have to head towards hip hop. It's in you. So fast forward, me turning 18, me joining a project which took me to hip hop house, which touched the hip hop proper foundation to understand the history, the dance style, which is also where I learned house, which is also I was getting into the feminine side of dance as well. From there, I moved to a dance company where I kept touching bases of hip hop, of house, but also indeed to learn and the skills of dancing and performing on heels. And that brought me to my first real love, whacking. Whacking took everything over. I shoved everything aside to really dig into whacking. There was something that just sparked. Through a minor injury during a battle, I stepped into Kizomba because a very beautiful female teacher, Sarah from Paris, came to Hip Hop House, my own dance school. And at that time, I was in a relationship, and he also just started Kizomba classes at his own university. So I thought, I am so uncomfortable just by the idea of dancing with men. F it, step out of the comfort zone. Let's try a couple dance. And well, now the rest is history. Me being an actual teacher in the Kizomba scene, bringing in the dance ingredients people need in their kiz. And now here we are.
Wow, that's beautiful. And again, that is like absolutely a summary because there is obviously
More.
so much more into that. But thank you for that. Where do you think that this drive comes from of you actually being scared of something and still deciding to give it a go or push through? Where do you think that comes from?
That is actually a very good question. I also realize the older I get how afraid I've always been as a kid to try something new because I always grew up in a very protective household, in a very controlled ways, like, oh, you're going to study this, you're going to settle down in this, and all of that. So everything was pretty much shaped into a very solid framework. So, but it also feels like you are allowing to have that control instead of exploring, instead of being curious. When I noticed that dance was giving me space to explore and try new things, I felt that became bigger. So out of curiosity that kept growing, was like, but what if we do step on the other side of what's holding you back? Because it's funny because dance was always for me a starting point with based on choreography. I was horrified to even think about freestyling, to even think about battling, because then there is nothing to hold on to. But the more I did so, the more I realized I stepped into being in the purest form of in this moment right now. The connection I have with the music, with myself, and whoever is around me doesn't even matter anymore. So the more I realized that, the more I actually dared to be curious, to step and overcome and not let fear be any control factor in life anymore.
Mm. I think that this is so interesting also because when we talk about how we got into dancing, I also agree. Like, my introduction was, watching music videos on MTV and stuff like that. But I do also know that you watching up with a lot of Bollywood movies, which has like crazy choreography.
Yes.
Like, have you ever thought about the connection between was it the hip hop that caught you, or was it already like again like the
Oh,
culture of Bollywood that like started the interest of dance?
absolutely. I think I loved the gestures that was being portrayed in all of those, let's say, the dance and the sing off moments, right? Because all of the songs, they had this emotional climax or a huge zoom in of something that was happening. And I was so fascinated by the emotional expression. They pour it into everything. It's not just, oh, I love you, well, kiss. You have to sing it on the mountains. You have to scream it on the streets. And if the, oh my gosh, and if the lady shows you her shoulder or has a little moment of, it was like, oh, she did not. But that was so captivating for me that it was definitely there. So I think that did enlighten that whole I want to express myself. Because me as a person, I was very socially awkward. I have difficulties to connect with people, to really talk to them. But when it comes to stepping into your dance and express yourself, that was definitely it was a tool actually. It was an amazing tool that I really needed at that moment. And now something that I hold and still hold, like I have a special space in my life.
Yeah, because for the people that don't know what you're doing currently, how would you, I mean, you just the last year you have got your booking in Martinique and you have started to do, I mean, we just had an amazing show in November as well with only lady styling,
Mm.
and I would say pretty groundbreaking if you
Oh,
ask us.
yes. Oh, yes.
How would you describe um your current workshops, what you're offering, and the connection to what you just said, like this love of expression?
Yes. So I have a very clear tagline is, well, my name is Sachi. I am born in India. I currently live in Rotterdam. I guest teach at the local dance schools such as Elevate Your Kids. I also am a student of Dwayne Gabi, and I'm a student of Jesus and Ani with Meta Kids program because I am still curious and eager to learn myself because I want to be the best possible version of a teacher to bring. My whole vision as a teacher is I'm here to add on the dance ingredients you need in your kids, meaning what do you need to move your body a certain way, or especially when it comes to musicality. On the other side of it is I really help women to step into their feminine energies in their healing processes and also their strength and their empowerment through it. So these are the two lines I'm following right now. One is dedicated for women, and the other is dedicated for those who want to level up their kids through dance ingredients. Because here's the thing, we have this whole community based on leading and following. So that is a very clear framework. One leads, one follows. But what does it mean to actually dance? And that's a question I kept asking over and over again to discover like there is so much more to explore and really give that goes beyond the leading and following, but helps to elevate and create a magical moment every single time you dance as a couple.
Mm. Yeah, because I do think that a lot of people are struggling with that. You come into a style like Kizomba and you learn the steps and you actually learn the techniques of following and leading. But where do you say, like, where is the gap between going from there to like the next step of
Yeah.
expressing yourself? Like, what is it that people are missing there?
I think it's actually a lot of layers. I think they're also the capacity that of understanding themselves and also to adapt to a lot of things to it. You can do a step as 1, 2, 3, but what if you prolong the first step to like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3? So even just understanding that you can break movements down into acceleration, slow motions can create with one basic move a whole new intention to it. Or the understanding of musicality, the understanding of musicality that you can even predict songs that you don't even know because you understand the structure of it, or the understanding of musicality and energies that you know how to adapt to slower or faster songs without feeling like you're stressing out or slowing down in every single thing that you have to do, or the fact that you are couple dancing with specific sets of movements, but you can still give an emotional layer to it and awareness of, oh, you have a whole body. How do you activate your entire body and the sense of being in that moment with that person? Because I can dance with you now, T, and who you are now will be different tomorrow.
Mm.
So, how can I be curious to wanting to connect with you as my dance partner in that moment? So all of these layers are the things that I've discovered so far that I feel this is the gap that dancers in couple dance can have a lot of space to grow and evolve in.
Mm. Yeah, I think that this is so interesting. Sometimes I believe that we are kind of like the like professors within a like it could be studying the space, right? And
Mhm.
we are just what you're saying, so far I have discovered this and this and this, and I'm sharing my scientific research on these things that I have discovered because
Yeah,
the universe is infinite, right? Like we don't
it is.
know, we cannot know everything about energy, connection, musicality, but what we know so far, it's such a beautiful thing to be able to share that freely and just be like, hey, this helped me,
Mm,
and I wanted to help you to grow.
mm,
Um, can you describe a little bit why you decided to become a teacher? Because there's a version, a parallel dimension where you could have just kept on dancing
true.
and never stepped into a teacher role. So why did you decide to actually, yeah, start teaching on your own?
Yeah, it's funny because that was actually never a decision. It is something that happened naturally already before I stepped into the Kizomba scene, to be very honest. And it's because we come from the hip hop scene as well, both of us. We have a certain philosophies and certain visions, but also ideas that and ideals that gets passed on. And one of them is each one teach one. So we come, that means that, well, there are a lot of styles of dance that was not developed an academical way, but that is passed on from generation to generation. So the peers that you have coming from the hip hop scene is literally based on who they have learning from or be actually one of the pioneers that set up something new and having the students to pass on to. But they also have the expectations that these students will become co-responsible to pass it on to the next generation. And I remember that one of those, a couple of these peers were already talking to me like, you have this skill that is rare, and that is you captivate an entire space without trying hard. Even when you step up on a scene, even when you grab the mic, as someone say, even when you explain something in class, there is something that captivates. So they were pushing me like, I want you to lead this part of the class. I want you to do this warming up. I want you to, you know what, this is a project. You got this. You take the lead of the group for this show. So I was already flowing into it before it was ever a decision. So it's funny because that decision never happened. Teaching just rolled out. What I do know when I am in front of the class, and sometimes I opt to use a more holistic approach. I feel that people really open up to you, also have this emotion, like really come out and wanting to open up. It feels precious. It feels so valuable. And always trying to give the space to keep it safe as well, where you feel like it's okay to step in and wanting to learn, even if that means with trials and errors, because people are so afraid to make mistakes. And I want to like take that away and step into the whole learning process and accept it as a whole. So even if it's me being that professor who actually has her own board or comes in with paperwork to really show you some framing, like, guys, this is song structure. This is how mathematically each song can be structured. We can train ourselves to recognize it and we can do this. So it can be from the whole feeling and this whole stepping into it to into the whole nerd modus and let's get into this. I love it. It sparks a whole fire inside of me that I do not want to take down ever.
Mm. I like that. I mean, I've been in a few classes of yours, and it's not unusual that people cry. Like, it has happened a few times, and you really don't seem like stressed about that at all.
No.
So, what are some of your ways of coping with that? I mean, you have obviously created a safe space. People are now trying something that is maybe a bit out of their comfort zone, and suddenly, boom, they have a flow of emotions or like a realization that makes them vulnerable in the moment. How do you deal with that as a teacher?
Yeah, that's a very beautiful question. Because that's also something I never thought of. I think one of the most natural answers coming to me is I am very empathic towards people, and I'm also a very emotional person myself. To be a teacher in my culture is an honor you receive because if the students are not there, then you don't have the title. Teacher is not something I can claim, it's a given. Guru is not a self proclaimed title, it is a given title as an honor of students that approach you. So that already humbles me because I have people in front of me that want to learn from me. So you can do everything you want in your time, you can go to anyone else, but you choose to be here in the space to be with me. So that's already one thing that keeps me down. Another thing is, I am here to give you something that you need. So that means a part of me has to become a vessel. I have to be open to receive. So even if that means that an emotion comes out flooding, and you are crying, sharing a very deep, maybe even heavy, or just anything that you're dealing with in that moment with me, because I am already here, like with you, I am already a vessel that is open to receive. The best thing I can do is just listen to what you have to say. And the gratitude I feel only becomes bigger, and the love I have to give only grows. So I can give you a proper embrace with all of that feeling. So I can give you back. So you feel that you are being seen, you are being heard, and you're being filled with love. That's also a part of you because that's also what you're learning through these type of classes. That everything you need, everything you are or even think you want to be, it's already inside of you. You're complete. And sometimes to hear this, especially as women, it can hit a lot of feels. But I really was thinking about what are the things that I'm going through? What is this experience teaching me? So I can never step into a class like, hey, I know it all and this and that. It's more like, hey, I'm on a journey. These are the things I've discovered. Let me share that with you and hope it helps you as well.
Yeah, I mean, you dropped some bars there because I think that one of the things we see a lot in any dance scene
Hmm.
is that you have gate uh keepers, and they can either be there to open doors for you or really keep the doors closed. And I've
Yeah.
talked about this in a few of these episodes now. And one way of keeping authority is to make sure that your students feel like they are never enough so that they come back, right?
Yeah.
And we have seen that a lot
Yeah.
because also in hip hop, even though we
Yeah.
have each one teach one, you also have ego in,
Yeah.
and that exists in across the board any dance style. I think you can find these type of teachers, men and women, that will make sure you feel like you don't know nothing
Mm,
and that you are never going to get there,
mm,
or that you are completely dependent on this teacher if you're going to get there. And this
mhm.
is a marketing thing, obviously,
Yeah.
because then you have people in a loop feeling that, if I don't keep taking these classes and do everything that this coach say, I will never make it. And you're creating now a very fragile kind of self-belief that is connected to an everlasting he or she knows the best, so I need to keep coming back.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that I feel are really there to just hold the door closed.
Mhm.
And then you have teachers that are the opposite way, which is like, oh, my purpose is that if like you keep coming to take my classes as long as they inspire you, make you feel better, and make you believe in yourself. And if you're my student in, for the rest of your life, a part of me has maybe failed a little bit because I am making you, I want you to grow so that you
Mm.
can go out there in the world and explore and be more of yourself. Like, I
Mhm.
don't know everything, you need to
No.
go. And I am here to push you out of the nest a little bit.
Yeah.
So I do think it's important when you say these things, because I believe that that is a very healthy teaching skill. And what you just said, like, you are not a teacher if you don't have students.
No.
And you're also uh, not really a teacher, but just again a gatekeeper, holding
Mm,
on to knowledge or just giving a little bit so that you're not running out of material for people to kind of always
yeah.
come back. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Of course, of course. It's just something that I also feel I want to add on to that. I also see in thesis the rare gems. There are teachers who also gets challenged by students, who also gets challenged by the developments of what's happening around them, but also the teachers who are still students, who wants to learn, who wants to exchange with everyone else around them, because that's what also feels for me when I collaborate with you in many ways. Like I get so inspired by you, or when we perform together I get so inspired by the entire group, or when I am training on a dance floor, or when I'm in class I'm like, whew, this is so hard. Because even when we look on a dance floor, we can see that, oh, this person has a very clear background in this and this and this, but what if this person would be trained to use the upper body in a fluent way? Or what if we teach that other dancers to isolate certain movements? The whole journey of dance is so fascinating because you're never done. There is no finish line, there is no end of it. So,
Mm.
how amazing is it that even us as teachers have a whole journey when we are learning and exploring for ourselves as well? And I
Mm.
think it would be beautiful coexisting if throughout that journey, students also want to learn from that
Mm.
as well, or create their own path as their path with you has ended, which is
Mm.
also an honor.
Yeah, yeah, it's just different chapters, right? And you don't own anything in this world. Nothing is yours. It's yours to keep for a bit, or it's yours to borrow, and then
Mm-hmm.
you need to let it go, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I really like that. It's an honor to be a teacher. It really resonates with me. Um, we have obviously also done a lot of other things for the community rather than just teaching, right?
Yes.
So there is event organization, there is obviously like the podcast and making sure we highlight people within the scene, or yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just making sure people get their spotlight. But you are also on top of all of this working with something else that a lot of people don't know, and that is that you actually work in institutions like theaters, like foundations and stichtings and all of this. Can you talk a little bit about your, you know,
My office job.
your other side, because it's
Yes,
connected to dance,
it
but
is,
in another
as you can
way.
see.
Yeah, there's a little dancing, painting in the
Image.
background in the office
Yes.
here. So please talk to us a little bit about what is the daytime Sachi doing when we don't see her glittering around at the nighttime.
Yes. So dance is something always connected to me throughout my life, whether it was me studying and dance, whether it was me working and dance, life and dance. It's never been separated. So I was freshly graduated, and someone just dropped my name in one of the bigger theaters and production houses of the Netherlands, without ever having to actually have a job interview. They just wanted to meet me for a cup of coffee and hired me on the spot because I had an understanding of the dance communities of the time that was stepping into the theater scene. And that's how my career started. I am a communication marketing specialist. I work with artists in residence who, in this current position, enter this beautiful setting where we have at least 3 studios. So they can do their research, they will have the residencies, they can even create productions that goes on national tours. And all of these levels need and require a level of guidance and also communication to the external parties. Because you coming in, stepping into as an upcoming maker has a very different position than already an associate who already has a very clear signature, very clear style, a very clear understanding, who wants to go on a national tour. So I work with all of these levels and create plans and run projects, run campaigns, either based on region or on national levels. So that's what I do. I translate your job, turn it into visualization, help you with the text writing, but also to just sit on a table and just talk with you and give you whatever resource you need coming from marketing communication, but also publicity, PR, connection with the press, and how do we release this story. And it's very exciting
Mm.
because it's also very beautiful that me coming with a whole background as an active dancer and teacher myself help you on a more corporate level and get actually the sales on. So that's what I do.
That's amazing. And where are you currently at? Tell me a little bit about the place you're sitting in right now and kind of your role over there.
Absolutely. So right now I am located at the most beautiful city of the world called Rotterdam. I'm at the west side. I'm very
Everyone in
proud.
Amsterdam is like, wait a second. Okay, okay, what?
I listen. Ain't no beef. We ain't got no beef. It's just that my personal heart, my love, everything is in Rotterdam. At the
Mm.
moment I already stepped here as a student in my early 20s, the city just had something for me. I personally have a connection with it. Obviously, every city has its beauties, has its strength, but there is something about Rotterdam that kept calling my name. So I am just so excited and like over it with love to even say I moved here finally back a few years ago, as you may have known.
Hmm.
So now, because of the move, I also felt I had to transition my job to Rotterdam because my network is huge here. I have a greater understanding. So that's what brought me to dance ateliers, which is a place for dance and it's a development. We have our weekly Monday movement classes for only €5, and it's always sold out because people just want to come in and move. This is also where they get introduction to our makers. Our makers are our artists in residency, and they can vary from level, they can vary from the duration of their working with here. We also have 4 associates that we work with, and they stay with us for at least 4 years. It can be longer because we also had amazing associate that stayed with us over a decade. Can you imagine? One associate for over a decade. And one of them now has its own stichting and its own funding to become completely independent in becoming a production house with its own work. And it's amazing to know the history of dance ateliers because we've had big names connected. If you look at the landscape of the cultural sector, when we speak of people who are directors now, owning their own companies, they started with dance ateliers once because of the openness we have as a house with literally open doors, giving space to everyone that could not really get space elsewhere. Now, why is it that they couldn't really get space elsewhere? Is we live in a quite a classical setting. You know, you have to have a certain level of schooling or certain foundation and a certain background. It's like, oh, hip hop. It's like, yeah, it's kind of on the street. You don't really see that in the theater sector, but that's already breaking through barricades. Like we belong here as well. We also deserve a stage as much as it was challenging for makers or especially upcoming makers who needed residency, who needed their first researches. So that's what where dance ateliers really help to be that stepping stone for the bigger circles of the theaters. And that's where I work with.
That's so amazing. I mean, I can't wait to come over there again. And for the people who don't know, we are currently in the planning of creating the first ever Move That Soul experiment, where we're gonna do basically I would say like a kind of a groundbreaking workshop mixing improv, storytelling, and movement. And we are, yeah, currently in the talks of a date where I'm gonna come to Rotterdam and we're going to actually get to play this in a brand new wave. So if there are other people out there who has like ideas for the community, yeah, please reach out to Sachi and see if you can make it happen. Because I'm currently in this phase, and I just feel like it's just such a blessing to be able to have somebody opening doors for you again. I mean, I'm not even new in this country, but I still find it hard to get into, like, where do you start if you're going to have an event or if you want to do something for the community, but you don't have a space. Yeah, so I just want to put that in there, reach out to Sachi, Sachi Sach. She might put you with the right people so you can make your thing happen if you are in the Netherlands, that is. So, yeah. Amazing, amazing, amazing. All right, so we're gonna do 5 quick questions. So it might be a yes or no question, or it might be something you have to answer. A quick
Mm-hmm.
one, maximum and one sentence. Okay?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So if you get dressed for a party, do you start with shoes, bottom, or top? In what order do you start dressing?
Top, bottom, shoes, head to toe.
Head to toe. Okay. If you gonna start to do a choreography, do you start with an idea of a message and then find a song? Or do you start with the music and then create the message or a story?
The music.
The music.
The music
Okay.
creates a message for me. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. When you find yourself facing a creative block, what is
Hmm.
one thing you do to overcome that?
Do something else.
Do something else.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, One of my most favorite memories within my dance career has been.
My first visit to Martinique. And I'm going back
Ooh,
in April this year.
yay!
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. What's the name of the festival?
On fait 10 danser.
Shout out to the organizer of this festival.
Shout out to Know With Me.
Yes. Okay. And in your opinion, life should be about
Love.
love. Okay.
Absolutely.
And um, one of the most important things I have learned is
To give grace to myself.
boom. Nice. Okay. I love this. We should do this more often.
Oh,
So, since
shit.
we are on the question game, we're going to also try a little bit of a move that's
Pop,
so
pop, pop, pop.
For the people who don't know, Move That Soul is a game for dancers created by dancers for dancers, and especially for the dancers who dare to dig a little bit deeper.
Mm.
And I'm gonna shuffle, and I'm gonna give Sachi a random question from the ask pile. Okay, Sachi, you getting it?
I
Okay.
am so, I love this. Yes, let's go.
For people who don't know, Sachi has also been my dancer in many of the showcase of this game, so she's not a newbie. Okay, describe a time when you exceeded your own expectations and what motivated you.
You were there. Olympiads.
Mm.
Olympiads. That was 2023, I believe.
And for people who don't know what Olympiads is,
That is the biggest competition of the Kizomba scene annually. And this was the first edition after COVID. And it was the second time they opened the category solo styling. And I was so inspired by seeing the first time how that went down. I wanted to step up and represent. I have never competed in something like this before. Olympiads is something that's so big. It seemed like, oh, you don't just step into Olympiads. It's like, you step into the arena. You literally get gold, silver, bronze medal and a whole acknowledgement of the entire scene. The judges are the high end, like, you have like these ranks of A list, B list type of artists, all of them A, like the highest of the ranks for so many years, people you look up to, people you never even met before because they're so busy. Uh, and the first time I stepped into that, I won bronze. I did not expect anything. I just knew that I was fired up with passion. I just really wanted to represent and overcome this whole burnout situation that I was sitting in. And I just wanted to break those chains away and create an understanding for myself. If you can fight these battles that's going on inside of your body, you can deal with anything that life throws at you. So
Mm.
that was the biggest moment, highlight, still very emotional, and the most support receiving situation I ever put myself in. And it was the
Ah,
best, the best.
yeah, for people who don't know, it's like it requires a lot. You have no idea what music you're gonna dance on. And not only do you have to prove yourself in a pre-selection where you do a solo towards the judges, but then you also have to literally battle another person.
Yeah.
And you go in rounds of like quarterfinals and semifinals and then, yeah, finally
Finals.
finals. So it's a huge thing and it's a lot of pressure. Because you are having the best dancers in the scene judging you. And on top of that, like the entire Paris community, which is basically the birthplace of Urban Kiss, watching what's
Mm.
happening. So I need to ask you another question. Will you ever compete again?
I actually did compete again. Last summer, I stepped back into the whole competition feeling. Um, and I can really understand, okay, it can be very demanding. It can require a lot from you. It depends also on the competition. It depends if you're doing solo or together. However, it really is the biggest moment where you connect with yourself. You see
Mm,
yourself in the rawest shape ever. And I think it's very healthy to step into that and deal with who you really are and what you really are feeling, and really connect with the sources that are outside, with the music, with the judges, with the audience. I would love to step into that journey, because I think it's also very beautiful how today kept describing it's not even just about the outcome, about the battle, but it's the whole journey towards it. You
mm,
learn so much throughout the training, the preparation, both physical and mental. He says just for that experience alone, everyone should step into a competition. If I would feel any need or call that I want to do it again, I absolutely would, just for that
mm,
experience and go through that journey again.
mm. Just
I
to
just
test. Yeah, hair flick,
I
hair
flick on the
flick. I
hand.
love that. I love that. Let's see what 2025 brings.
Let's see. Mm-mm.
Mm. Okay. Um, I got a little question here for myself, which was, when was the last time you were nervous? And funny enough, I think that I've been like quote unquote nervous a little bit every day this year because I feel like it's the year of um, new events, new possibilities, new ideas, and it is always a nervous feeling to do something new because you are now altering a little bit of like your safe zone
Mm-hmm.
into something else. So when I come up with ideas that makes me excited, I also
Mm.
get nervous because I'm thinking, oh my God, in Swedish we say, have I taken too much water over my head? But it
Oof.
basically like, is this too big? Is this too out there? Is this too
Mm.
different from what I usually do? And in that, of course, comes the fear of judgment, right, from
Mm-hmm.
others of like, who does she think she is? And you get the imposter
Mm,
syndrome and all of that. But
mm,
nevertheless, I must say that I'm going to join you in that it's almost like stepping into a battle. It's
yeah,
that feeling of it's unknown. You have
yeah,
no idea how it's going to go. And all
mm,
you can do is prepare and be
mm,
grateful for the journey. And no matter what the outcome is, you challenged yourself. You did
yes,
something and you
yes,
grew on that journey.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank
Good, healthy
you.
nerves. Let's go. Let's
What?
go.
So, do you want to share anything about what's coming up for you this year, this
Wow.
spring? If people kind of like want
Yeah.
to maybe see you in real life, where can people find you? Like, share with us what's the spring 2025 looking
Oh
like?
gosh, yes. So first of all, it's been great years of me learning and developing in so many ways. I really needed a slow start this year because I felt like, okay, I need to take it in. I need to really like recalibrate, like, okay, what are we gonna do? What are the plans? So first things first, I'm a guest teacher at every end of the course at Elevate Your Kids. So if you're a student there, you will see me every single time, which is an honor because can you imagine that you just take over the baby of Twee and Gabi? Because that's how it feels like, oh, now they're handing over the baby to you. And every time I do that, it's like, okay, let's we gotta let's nurture this baby, make sure it's clean, make sure it's there. Are there any big events coming up I can announce yet? Unfortunately, no. Can you reach out to me? Always. Because a nickname that I received in the battle age was for Sachi. You can find me on Instagram, Sachi underscore ver. So you can always ask or booking for private classes. I am not the type who always posts about my private classes, but yes, they really do happen. And it really depends on what you want to learn from me, what you want to do. Because I've helped people prep for their own competition, to work on their own stage presence, even to work for national televisions, or just I need to understand the fundamentals of body isolations or body movements. But most of all, when it comes to styling and musicality, those has been my biggest fortes. You can always ask, you can always link up, you can always collaborate because that's what I'm here for, to add on the dance
Hmm.
ingredients you need for your kids.
What? Find her on Sachi underscore ver. And for the people that are on this festival in April, they will at least see you there.
Absolutely.
Go to Martinique, everyone. Enjoy the
Join,
beach.
it's the paradise, and the water
Oh,
is like, and there
oh
are
my God.
wild crabs walking around.
Ah, go for the crabs, guys.
Go for the crabs.
I love that. Thank you so much, Sachi, for being on the podcast. Again, go and follow her. And if you liked what we talked about today, you have any questions, please comment down below. You can find us. If you don't see the video, you can also tune in on YouTube.
Yes.
And otherwise, we see you on Spotify or wherever you find your podcasts. Much love. Mwah! Don't forget to click subscribe, comment below, and give us a rating or review. We have a Facebook page, YouTube page, and we are on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and all the other podcast platforms. We also have an Instagram, so don't forget to tag us in your favorite episode and share it with the world because we read all of it.